Assalamu alaikum, dear friends and students. Today we will discuss the reactions of aldehydes and ketones. Basically, we have divided the reactions of aldehydes and ketones into two parts. In part A, we will discuss the addition of water molecule, the addition of alcohols, thiols, HCN, Grignard reagents, organolithiums, and hydrides to the carbonyl of aldehydes and ketones. And the thing which is common in all these six reactions is the addition of a nucleophile and the formation of tetrahedral compound. In part B, we will discuss some more reactions concerned with the aldehydes and ketones. So let us begin our lecture with the first reaction, that is the addition of water molecule. Basically, uh, when water molecule is added to the aldehyde or ketone, gem diol is formed. What is gem diol? Gem diol means geminal diol. When two hydroxy are attached to the same carbon, the molecule is called geminal diol or simply hydrate. So when aldehyde or ketone is reacted with water molecule, we have the formation of gem diol. So what should be the mechanism? It is very simple. Water is serving as a nucleophile, and it attacks to the electrophilic carbon of the aldehyde or ketone, and as a result this pi bond between the carbon and oxygen is broken to have this tetrahedral intermediate. Here one oxygen is in its oxyanion form and the other oxygen is it in its oxonium form. So after the proton shifting, this H transfers here and we have the gem diol. Well, this seems to be very simple reaction, but remember, uh, this reaction is not does not give a good yield for every sort of ketone. Rather, it is only good when we have two hydrogens here, which is called the formaldehyde. And as long as we keep on increasing this carbon chain to one to either side of the carbonyl or to the both side, as in case of ketone, the rate of formation of hydrate becomes decreased. Now let us discuss the second mechanical reaction, which is the addition of alcohol. When alcohol is added to the aldehyde or ketone, we have the formation of hemiacetals, hemiketals, acetals or ketals. Here, this is the general reaction. We have this aldehyde or ketone. If R prime is H, it is aldehyde. If R prime is a carbon chain, it is ketone. Treated with alcohol, we have this OR group from the alcohol is attached to this carbonyl carbon, which has become the tetrahedral now. If we have the second mole of alcohol also attached to this carbon with the removal of this OH, so overall two ORs are attached, it is called acetal or ketal. So acetal or ketal is a full uh, 2 moles of alcohols are added to the ketone, while in case of hemiacetal or hemiketal, only 1 mole of alcohol is added to aldehyde or ketone. So before proceeding, let us just discuss these terminologies. What is hemiacetal or acetal or ketal or hemiketal, etc. So remember, let's take this simple example. Suppose this is the the simple aldehyde, which is called acetaldehyde. When 1 mole of methanol is added, we have this OCH3 group attached to this carbon, which was the carbonyl carbon previously, and this green OH, it's from this carbonyl oxygen, and H from this methanol. So when one alkoxy is attached, it's called hemiacetal. Hemi means half. Half means in a sense of two. So half of 2 moles is 1 mole. So when 1 mole of alcohol is attached, it's hemiacetal. When 2 moles of alcohols are attached, it's called acetal. And why acetal? Acetal has word come Acetal word has come from the aldehyde. If it were aldehyde, it would be it would be acetal. If it were the ketone, it would be ketal. So we have overall 4 terms, one called hemiacetal, other is called acetal. Both have one thing in common, that is the aldehyde substrate with 1 mole added or the 2 moles added. And same as for the ketone, when 1 mole of alcohol is added to the ketone, we call hemiketal. When we have 2 moles of alcohol, we call it ketal. So these four terms are very closely linked to each other, so don't get confused. Now let us discuss the mechanism. As we discussed in the previous lecture when we were discussing the reactivity of carbonyl compounds, the first step is the protonation, and this carbonyl oxygen protonates to afford this protonated carbonyl, which may be immediately attacked by the alcohol present. And when this alcohol attacks, this pi bond is broken to have this tetrahedral intermediate. Now this water molecule may abstract this proton, which is very much acidic, directly attached to positively charged oxygen, to have this intermediate, which is called hemiacetal or hemiketal, depending upon the nature of R prime. If R prime is H, it is hemiacetal, or if R prime is a carbon chain, it's called hemiketal. And why hemi? Because 1 mole of alcohol is added. So we have OR from the alcohol and OH from the corresponding carbonyl. Now, if we have, since we have the acidic medium, so we have the proton present. So this hydroxy will be protonated, and we have this oxonium, and now the lone pair of oxygen of this alkoxy will expel this OH2 group out to have this reactive intermediate. And this reactive intermediate, which will it will be immediately attacked by the second mole of alcohol to have again this tetrahedral intermediate, whose H will be deprotonated to afford the neutral species, which is called acetal or ketal, depending again on the nature of R prime. If it is H, it is acetal. If it is alkyl, it is ketal. So you must have seen the difference between the hemiacetal and the acetal. If we have two alkoxy groups attached, it's called full. If we have one OH group attached, it's called hemi. We also call hemi acetal as full acetal or ketal as full ketal. Remember, this reaction of the formation of acetal or ketal occurs in the acidic medium. And because in acidic medium we have proton which will protonate the hemiacetals hydroxy to make it possible for the second mole of alcohol to attack. If it were the basic medium, we would not be able to get the full acetal or ketal. Rather, the reaction is stopped at the hemiacetal or hemiketal level. We will also discuss what is the consequence of this in coming few slides. So before discussing that, let us take this simple case. This is a question. Uh, we have to identify which is the acetal out of these four molecules. So as per definition of the acetal, we know a carbon directly linked with two alkoxy, that is OR, is called acetal or ketal. So if you consider this carbon, which I have just pointed, it is connected with the methoxy and the alkoxy, this oxygen and this carbon side chain. So yes, it is hemiacetal. Now consider the molecule 2. Again, we have this carbon that is connected to the OR group from this side and also OR group from this side. So this carbon, this molecule 2 is also an acetal. Now let us discuss the third molecule. We do not have the carbon that is directly connected to two oxygens. So this is no more acetal. And now let us discuss this. And yes, we have the carbon connected with two oxygens, but this is the alkoxy oxygen from left hand side, and this is the hydroxy oxygen. So it is not acetal, rather it is hemiacetal. As the question is to identify the acetal, so we will not mark compound 4 to be acetal. So compound 4 is hemiacetal, compound 3 is simply ether, uh, and compound 1 and 2 are the answer. Now let us take another case. What open chain structure would close this bicyclic acetal? Suppose this molecule, we have to find the starting material from which this molecule was made. As you could consider this carbon, which is directly connected to two oxygen. Let us highlight this carbon. So this is the basically a ketal carbon. Why am I telling this ketal? because this carbon is directly connected to two alkoxy groups. The one is here, the oxygen and the carbon chain, and the other is here, the oxygen and another carbon chain. And why am I calling it ketal? Because this has two carbon. This carbon is connected to two carbon, this carbon and this carbon. So this is ketal. And let us highlight the bonds, which are the CO bonds, this CO bond and this CO bond. So what am I going to do? I am basically going to cleave this CO bond and this CO bond, and then converting this orange carbon to be the carbonyl carbon, that is the ketone, and these two oxygen that have been just cut from their corresponding CO bond, going to be converted into the alcohol like this. So if you consider this molecule and this molecule, you may infer that this was the starting material of this, because if this alcoholic hydroxy attacks here, we will have OC bond, and this pi bond will break, we will have OH bond, that is hemiacetal. And then after the protonation, this will protonate and this will make this this water group leave out of the system. The second mole of alcohol attacks here, and overall we will be having this product which is called ketal. So this is the starting material, that is we were asked. Now let us draw in a better way. So it may be better drawn like this. What did we do? We simply just straightened all the carbons and just placed the hydroxy to their appropriate positions, and you you may count the number of carbons here and number of carbons here. They must be same, and the location of the hydroxy must also be the same. Well, glucose is a very common natural compound. It has the very common functional group which is called hemiacetal, along with the other functional groups which are hydroxy and the aldehyde in its open chain form. So this is hemiacetal because this carbon, which has been marked in turquoise color, is directly connected to alkoxy and the hydroxy. And remember, if we consider the open chain structure of aldehyde, you know that this alkoxy, this CO bond of this alkoxy is broken, and we have the OH here and the carbonyl here. And when there is a carbonyl, it will be an aldehyde because we will have intramolecular cyclization. So glucose is very much fits in the example of the hemiacetal. Other natural compound which is called sucrose, table sugar, has this carbon. You could see this carbon is connected to two oxygen which are further connected to alkyl carbon chain. So this carbon is connected to two alkoxys. So this is an acetal. Why am I calling it acetal? Because of two alkoxy and a hydrogen here and a carbon here. So this is an acetal bond, acetal functionality. And for this carbon, we have the ketal. Why am I calling it ketal? Because this carbon is connected to two alkoxy and two carbons. So if we simply cut this molecule from here and from here, we will have a ketone group on this carbon. Well, as mentioned, acetals are hydrolyzable in acidic medium. What does it mean? It means if we add the acid in the acetal, we may get the corresponding aldehyde or ketone from where we started. However, in the basic medium, acetals are stable. So it's a very good guide for the reactivity. The reactions which we want to perform on the acetals and ketals are operated under basic condition because of non-possibility of the cleavage of this CO bond. However, if we add the acid, this acetal or a ketal is hydrolyzed to corresponding aldehyde or ketone. We will take one more case as an example in few slides. So if you treat this ketone or aldehyde with this diol, this is diol because of two hydroxy groups, we have this cyclic acetal. That is, this hydroxy must have attacked to this carbon having been protonated. Then after the departure of water molecule, the second alcoholic part of the same molecule will attack to this carbon again. We will have the overall this 5-membered oxygen containing ring, which is called dioxolane. So this dioxolane ring, that is cyclic ketal, may be hydrolyzed if we add the acid to their corresponding starting material, that is the ketone or the aldehyde and the LD and the diol. So what is the advantage of the acetals? Acetals serve as the protecting groups. Acetals are used to protect aldehydes and ketones from undesired reactions in basic solutions. What does it mean? Let's take this example. Suppose we want to make this compound from this compound. So if you consider the number of carbons in the target molecule, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 carbons. And in the starting material, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon. So we have to add a 3 carbon compound to this starting material to have this 9 carbon compound. And you could see this tertiary alcohol here. So if you recall, the tertiary alcohol is made from the Grignard reagent, from the reaction between the Grignard reagent and the ketone. So you must be thinking to have this Grignard, if you convert this molecule into the Grignard reagent by treating with magnesium in ether, and the acetone, if you take acetone with this Grignard reagent, yes, you will get this compound, because this carbon will become the nucleophilic, because it has been connected with the magnesium. This nucleophilic carbon will attack this carbonyl carbon, and after the workup you will have this tertiary alcohol and you will get the desired product. But you know that the Grignard reagent, which has the active hydrogen in its molecule, or the electron withdrawing groups such as the carbonyl or the nitro, it attacks to the same molecule, and rather than attacking to the external molecule. What does it mean? It means that we cannot afford to have this Grignard reagent to proceed this reaction, because this route will not work. And why it will not work? Because of the intramolecular nucleophilic addition. If you try to synthesize the Grignard reagent, this nucleophilic carbon will attack to its own carbonyl carbon to have the intramolecular cyclization. And also there is another possibility of the homodimerization or polymerization, that this Grignard reagent, suppose this will attack to the carbonyl carbon of another Grignard reagent, and which in return which will attack to another uh, Grignard reagent's carbonyl carbon from its this nucleophilic carbon, and the process goes on and goes on. So we will not be able to have our desired product. That is, we wanted to treat with the acetone to have the tertiary alcohol. So there is one trick, that what if we protect this carbonyl, then we make this Grignard reagent and treat with the acetone, whatever the product we want, and later we just deprotect this carbonyl. So because this is the troublesome, this is the carbonyl that is creating a problem for us. So the strategy is to make the acetal of this carbonyl, because we want to protect this carbonyl from the attack of the Grignard's reagent. So just treat this carbonyl with the diol under acidic condition to have this ketal. And you know, this ketal is stable under basic or neutral condition, as we discussed. So then try and then make the Grignard reagent of this compound by treating with magnesium in ether to have this Grignard reagent. And now bring the acetone in the vicinity of this Grignard reagent to have the tertiary alcohol, to have this compound, this intermediate, and which will after workup will give you the tertiary alcohol. So at this stage, Grignard reagent here, it did not attack to the carbonyl carbon, because it is no more carbonyl carbon. Rather, it is a masked carbonyl, that is a protected one. So after hydrolyzing, basically it did two things consecutively. First of all, it destroyed the remaining Grignard reagent and this protonated this alcox and this oxide anion to have this tertiary alcohol, and also it hydrolyzed this protected carbonyl, that is the dioxylane ring. It simply hydrolyzes this ketal to have the ketone back. So this is the strategy that we did. So protection, then the reaction, our main reaction, and then the deprotection. So it took the 3 steps. So 2 steps were additional, were extra, we had to do to have the desired product. Now let's discuss the addition of thiols. It is similar like the addition of alcohols. The only difference is of the sulfur. So we have this thioacetal, and if we take this dithiol in the same molecule, we have this cyclic thioacetal. So what is the utility of making this cyclic thioacetal? In fact, this thioacetal formation with subsequent desulfurization with hydrogen and Raney-nickel gives us an additional method for converting the carbonyl or aldehyde into the CH2 groups. What does it mean? If you make the thioacetal and treat with the hydrogen and in presence of Raney-nickel, you may simply desulfurize this molecule and we have the CH2 group here. So it's a good way to convert the carbonyl into the CH2 group. And remember, now we have the 3 different methods to deoxygenate the aldehyde or ketone. The first method was the Wolff-Kishner reduction, which we already know. When the carbonyl, the aldehyde or ketone, is treated with the hydrazine to have the hydrazone as a product, and then uh, under alkaline condition, this hydrazone is hydrolyzed and we have the overall CH2 group in place of carbonyl group. So this is the way we remove the carbonyl of aldehyde or ketone, which is called the deoxygenation. Another way is the Clemmensen reduction, in which we use the zinc mercury amalgam in the presence of HCl to have this. So these were the 2 common methods to deoxygenate the aldehyde and ketones. Now we have the third method. The name of this method is called Mozingo reduction, in which we take the dithiol to have dithiolane ring, which is then treated with hydrogen in the presence of Raney-nickel to have this CH2 group. So all these three methods and gives us the same desired product with different reaction conditions. You could see the Wolff-Kishner reduction works under basic condition, the Clemmensen reduction works under the acidic condition, and the Mozingo reduction works under the neutral condition. So whatever the condition we need, we may adopt and we may get our desired product. Now let's discuss the addition of HCN. When HCN is added to the carbonyl, we have the formation of cyanohydrin. You could see the example, and this is the carbonyl, whether it's ketone or aldehyde, the CN is added to this carbonyl carbon and OH is there. So we have this compound which is called cyanohydrin. The word dictates its structure. Cyano means CN and hydrin means hydrogen, and hydroxy is present on the same carbon. What is the mechanism? The nucleophilic attack of cyanide to the carbonyl carbon to afford this tetrahedral intermediate, and then this oxyanion, this tetrahedral intermediates oxyanion will be protonated with HCN to have this cyanohydrin. And remember, if we take the HCN itself, it's a slow reaction, because HCN is a weak acid and a poor source of nucleophile. It means that neither it's good at protonating this tetrahedral intermediate, nor it is good at to yield this nucleophilic cyanide. So what to do? We can accelerate this reaction by using the sodium cyanide or the potassium cyanide, because in doing so, we will have a naked cyanide and available to attack the nucleophilic, to attack the electrophilic carbon of the aldehyde or ketone. And for the protonation purpose, we may add the slow delivery of sulfuric acid. And remember to add slowly, because if we add quickly, we may have the hydrolysis of cyanohydrin as well. So this is the way we may make the cyanohydrin. First treat with the sodium cyanide or potassium cyanide. The cyanide will attack here. We will have the breakage of this carbonyl bond to have this oxyanion, which will be protonated under acidic condition to have this cyanohydrin. Here, one more thing you must be thinking. Okay, we have learned how to make the cyanohydrin and how to have the show the attack of the cyanide to the carbonyl, and after the workup we have the cyanohydrin formation. But what is the utility of making this molecule? I mean, why do we bother making this particular molecule, which apparently does not seem to be interesting or seem to be important? No, we have added cyanide to the molecule in the form of cyanohydrin, and this cyanide or nitrile will be converted to the carboxylic group if we hydrolyze these cyanides. So there is an example when you treat with this molecule with HCN, we have the cyanohydrin, and then this CN, the nitrile group, will be hydrolyzed under acidic condition to have the carboxylic group. So this is the way to have the carboxylic group attached to this electrophilic carbon, and this old electrophilic and this nucleophilic and this carbonyl oxygen will be converted into the hydroxy. So overall this is called the alpha hydroxy acid. We may also have the removal of water molecule from here. This OH will protonate, and then this beta hydrogen will be abstracted, and we have the double bond here, and this cyanide will hydrolyze. So overall we may have the alpha beta unsaturated acid from this cyanohydrin. And also, if we reduce this nitrile with the lithium aluminum hydride, which is a very strong reducing agent, we may have the CH2NH2, the primary amine group here. So overall, it will be beta amino alcohol. Why beta? Because this amino, with this carbon with respect to amino is alpha, so this must be the beta. So we have, and once we have made the cyanohydrin, the door is open to have the alpha hydroxy acids, the alpha beta unsaturated acids, and the beta amino alcohols, which are a good precursor for further reactions. Now let us discuss the reduction of aldehydes or ketones. So this is the example. If we have this aldehyde and we treat with sodium borohydride, which is a very mild reducing agent, we have the primary alcohol. When we have the ketone, we have the secondary alcohol. So remember, if we want to make the primary alcohol, we have to use the aldehyde. If we want to make the secondary alcohol, we have to use the ketone. And it is not necessary to use the sodium borohydride. The same reaction may also occur with the help of the lithium aluminum hydride, LiAlH4. Now see the mechanism. First of all, the delivery of the hydride to the carbonyl carbon, and with the breakage of this pi bond, we have this intermediate. This is oxyanion, which will be protonated with the help of water to have the desired alcohol. So if we have the two carbons here, as in the case of ketone, the carbon and carbon, we will have the secondary alcohol. If we have one hydrogen here, for example, this R prime is H, so we will have R, H, and H, and then OH, so primary alcohol. So this substrate dictates the formation of the alcohol, whether it's primary or secondary in nature. And if it were lithium aluminum hydride, the mechanism would be same, the delivery of hydride from here, like in the case of borohydride, and same process goes on to have the desired product. Here, one more thing I would like to and clarify, that this hydride is not the H negative ion. It's not the anion. Rather, its hydrogen is attached to boron or aluminum in case of lithium and aluminum hydride. So the delivery of hydride is basically is not free hydride to have the carbonyl attacked. So this is called the sigma electron. So these two electrons, which is between H and B, basically they are coming from this source to this electrophilic carbon. Why H negative? Simply hydride ion does not attack the aldehyde or ketone. We have already discussed this case because the hydride ion is the 1s2, and it is not compatible to attack the p, the diffused orbital, that is the p orbital of the carbonyl group, that is the pi star. So it is the incompatibility or the mismatch of the atomic orbitals which does not allow the simple hydride H negative ion to attack the aldehyde or carbonyl carbon. So this is the reason that sodium hydride does not attack the aldehyde or ketone. Sodium hydride is in fact not a nucleophile, but it's a base. Now let us discuss the reaction of Grignard reagents or organolithium with the aldehyde or ketone. And this is RMG, a Grignard reagent. This is organolithium. We have this secondary alcohol, and if we have the ketone, we will have the tertiary alcohol. Remember, it's a two-step reaction. In the first step, this R will attack this carbonyl carbon to have the oxyanion, which we will discuss in the mechanism. And in the second step, we have the workup. We do not, we cannot add all the stuff together, because if we edit it, it would be a mess. We will not get our desired product. Rather, the reaction could explode because of the presence of the proton and the Grignard region or the organolithium to have the corresponding alkane. Now let us discuss the mechanism. As we know that the Grignard reagent or organolithium have the nucleophilic carbon, so this red carbon will attack to the aldehydic or the ketonic carbonyl carbon to have this oxyanion, which will be protonated with the help of the acid in the second step, not in the same step, to have the desired alcohol. So with the aldehyde, we have the secondary alcohol. With the ketone, we have the tertiary alcohol. The mechanism is same, only difference is of this group. So in summary, if we add water to aldehyde or ketone, and specifically in case of formaldehyde, we have this formation of gem diol, geminal diol, that is called the hydrate. If we add the alcohol in the basic, in the acidic medium, we have the ketal or acetal. And if we add in the alcohol in the presence of, it's simply not in the presence of acid, we have the hemiacetal or ketal. So we have shown two molecules here because this is called hemiacetal, which is the halfway of the full acetal. If we treat with thiol, we have this group which is similar to the acetal. It is called thioacetal or thioketal, and this is called hemi-thioacetal or hemi-thioketal. If we have the HCN group attached or the potassium cyanide followed by the acidic workup, we have the cyanohydrin, that is the carbon bearing the CN and the hydroxy. If we have the sodium borohydride or the lithium aluminum hydride, we have the reduced form, that is called the alcohol. If it is ketone, it will be secondary alcohol. If it is aldehyde, it will be primary alcohol. If we have this organometallic compound such as the organolithium or the organomagnesium, this R double prime will attack to this carbonyl carbon to have this alcohol. If it is aldehyde, it will be secondary alcohol. If it is ketone, it will be tertiary alcohol. So we have discussed the 6 reactions of aldehydes or ketones in which the nucleophiles attacked to the carbonyl carbon, and overall we ended with the tetrahedral product. In the next lecture, we will discuss more reactions such as reaction with the primary amine or the secondary amine, in which we will get the imine or inamine, and we will also discuss the aldol reaction and Wittig reactions. So thank you for watching.